I think this works. Alright, I got a black screen, but it is... There we go. Okay. So there we have it. We have both YouTube and Twitch. So let's go. Let's get into it. Okay, so tonight we are going to... Adrian, a little quieter, please. So tonight we're going to start off by culling the white cards. There are a lot of them, and we just need to get rid of some. And I thought I'd do that on camera here instead of doing it in the video like I did in the past. It'll give me a little bit longer to kind of talk about it, but also not take up precious video time when people are kind of just looking at what cards I have. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so there's 185 cards here, and 90 of them are creatures. So I think first I'm going to try to cut that number in half. There's a lot of stuff here that does the same thing again and again and again. And we just gotta find we just gotta find out how much we need of that effect, what the density is. You know, I'm not gonna be running something like 21 drops. I'm only gonna run like probably 5 or 6 at the end. But right now I'm going to cut that number down to 10 so that it gives me options as we kind of get the rest of the colors of the cube. Let me see if I can remember what this cube had a little bit of. There's life gain synergies. I'm seeing artifacts. I don't remember. Was counters part of it too? Oh yeah, there was heroic. So that's nice if we have any of the heroic guys. Yeah. Alright, so we have a very wide net. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to filter by mana value 1. Let's go power 2. So we only have 3 2-power 1-drops. So that means that they are all safe. That's going to be Dauntless Bodyguard, which is a 2/1 Savannah Lions, human knight. I think only humans are going to matter. Choose another creature you control, sacrifice it, it gives it protection. So it's a very good 1-drop because it's got 2 power, and later on in the game, you can just throw it down to protect something. Very cool. The next one that we're going to keep, no matter what, is Recruitment Officer. Right here. So our Recruitment Officer is... Let me push this up a little bit. Another 2/1. That can potentially get you value in the late game. You're not going to be super excited to use this ability, but when you need it, because you're out of gas and your opponent's kind of gotten settled, this will get you there. Okay. And then lastly, for the 2-power 1-drops is the Sky Marcher Aspirant. Again, it's another Savannah Lions. It's a vampire and a soldier, which may matter. We haven't seen enough black cards yet, but the vampire might matter, so might the soldier. And it also has the outside chance of giving everything or giving itself flying. So a flying 1-mana 2/1 is very good, but even just a 2/1 by itself, also pretty good. So those are our 2-power 1-drops. They are in. So now we're going to do the 1-power flying men, because I think we have a lot. Oh, we only have 2. All right. So we have Kitesail Cleric, which, if it's kicked, you can tap up to 2 target creatures. So it's a 1-mana 1/1 flyer, perfectly fine on turn 1. But you play it later in the game, you can kind of tap down your opponent and get in. And then the other one is another kind of pet of mine. I love this guy in lower power environments. Ruin Lurker Bat is a flying man with lifelink, and it's got this descended trigger. So if you get into combat, one of your creatures dies, sure, you get a free scry. Very easy to play later in the game as well. Very, very solid card. So that's 5 creatures already. There's 5 creatures at 1 that we are definitely going to keep. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at the rest. So this is the rest of the creatures that we have to look at. We can kind of group them into groups of what they do. Like, Hunted Witness makes a token when it dies. Has the Marshal makes a token when it attacks. Allenbach Escort gives something protection. So does Al State of Life's Bounty. This one's an enchantment creature, and that one's a human cleric, which also might matter. So in this selection, we are going to grab probably about 5 more of these creatures. Cathedral Sanctifier is in here to support the life gain theme. It's also in one of my pet decks of Pauper, where you can kind of blink it or bring it back from the graveyard. So it can kind of get you out of the... Or at least it could get you out of the damage on against red. It's been, to be truthfully honest, it's been like 2 years since I've played Pauper. We have the Hasda Marshal and the Hunted Witness. Infantry Veteran, I think this is probably the best we're ever going to see that kind of a thing, where it gives an attacking creature something. I would like to keep Monk of the Open Hands, because it can really encourage people to go. So let's actually talk about the Monk of the Open Hands, just for a minute. So Guys, do we have to be so loud? So Monk of the Open Hands really kind of works well in a cube environment, because you do want to be playing, multiple spells per turn, especially as the aggro person. So you drop this on 1, and then you drop 2 1-drops on turn 2. Now you're swinging with the 1 mana 2/2. Let's say you play a 2-drop, and then on turn 3 you play a 2 and a 1. Again, you got that 1 mana 2/2 that doesn't cost much. I think this Elf Monk is going to make it past this round of cuts. I think that it does just enough that it's safe. Guys, can you guys go upstairs, please?
Yes.
Excuse me for 1 minute. Come here. Come here. I love you, Lily.
How does that work?
It's pointing a camera down. Look, if you want to see on the screen, I've got the one camera who's looking at me, and then I've got this camera, which is looking at the pile of cards on the table. It's a little old, so it's very jagged. Yep, you're looking at the same thing, Connor. Give me a hug and a kiss. I'll see you when you guys are ready for your bedtime stuff. I need you guys... Nope. I need you guys to go upstairs now, please.
Can you put my hand in
Can you please go on upstairs now? Thank you. Okay. So now that my dadding is done for a little while, let's get back into the cards. So we've got Al State of Life's Bounty and Allenbach Escort. This gives something with a 1/1 counter on it much better stats, plus it's got better creature types, both a human and a cleric. But Al State of Life's Bounty covers anything, so I think that's going to be the one that we throw in, and we're going to drop off the Allenbach Escort. So we're going to cut that. And that will be our first cut. Yep, we'll create blog post. No big deal. Okay, I think next one for the things we want to cut is actually going to be Mosquito Guard. It's a 1-mana 1/1 with first strike, which is fine. It's a very good card, actually. But it has reinforce. So we're going to go between this guy and the vampire dude, which is the Midnight Duelist. So they're both soldiers. How does it look on the camera? It looks pretty good. Push them up a little bit, though. Okay. So they're both soldiers. They both have... Nope, they do not both have protection. I don't know why I'm comparing these dudes. Okay, so let's go at them one at a time. The Mosquito Guard is a very good creature to play with Odric. We have a 4-mana Odric that hands out keywords based on everybody else, but I think that might do just enough right now to kind of send it forward. Midnight Duelist has protection, which again Odric would share, but I don't know if vampires are going to be at a density enough that you would want to have protection from them. So I think with this one, we're going to just cut the Duelist. And we will keep the Mosquito Guard. Just for now. So that should be 6 cards I think we've kept. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, 7. So we get 3 more keeps. And I am going to pull one that actually didn't show up. Because it's Power 0, which is even worse than Power 1. This Market Gnome. And this Clockwork Drawbridge. Again, very much in the same vein. But the Drawbridge has the ability to tap a creature, whereas Market Gnome replaces itself when it dies and can be used as a craft ability later. And we have some Ixalan, some, I don't even remember, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, so that might come up. I just see Market Gnome as the much better version of Clockwork Drawbridge, so we'll save that. And we'll cut the Drawbridge, which we can't even see right now. So let's filter. Power is less than or equal to 1. Filter, there we go. Clockwork Drawbridge is gone. What? It wasn't even on the list to begin with. It helps if you use the right signs, people. There we go. Why is it showing a bunch of other stuff? What's my filter? Mana value 1, power less than equal to 1, minus O flying. Okay, because I didn't specify creature. Anyway. So, that leaves us with 2 slots left. So out of these cards, what do we want for the last 2? The Mouser supports artifacts, life gain, and +1/+1 tokens. So it kind of does a lot. Hunted Witness is a good role player if we end up with aristocrats. We don't know that we're even going to get them yet. Lagana Band Trailblazer is good for if we're going to have a lot of spells that target our spells. I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick just 2 more and be happy with it. I am going to cut the Dutiful Thrall because we are kind of leaning towards having a commander cube this time. And that's just a very hard to keep card. Because it's white and black for color identity. Whereas it's just a white creature for most cubes. In a commander cube, it's white and black. So we need to replace it. So I've got, I think, 2 slots left from my original. Let me just give it one more quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So we got 2 more cards we can keep. And then we have to pitch the rest. So, looking through these cards, I think Hunted Witness gets in because it does give you, it gives you a body that makes a body. It's a human that makes a soldier. It's got lifelink, and if we end up with an Aristocrats theme, these kind of effects you want to see at 1. So I think that's a good keep. And that gives us 1 slot left for the rest of these guys. Looking through these cards, I know equipment is a sub-theme, but I don't know if this does enough. It can. Maybe it should, because it gets better stats and first strike if it's equipped. And we have some low cost equipments in the cube, at least for what we've seen. So I think that that's going to be the last one, which is Auriok Glaive Master. It's not fantastic, but it's fine. The other choices I'm looking at are Boros Elite. Cathedral Sanctifier is definitely out. Has the Marshal is another cool one because it can keep making dudes as long as you keep attacking with it. And then, yeah, the Infantry Veteran that gives something a small buff. But I think I'm happy with the Glaive Master as my last 1-drop. So we're going to cut Boros Elite, Cathedral Sanctifier, Hasda Marshal, Infantry Veteran, and Lagana Band Trailblazer. So those are all gone. I won't make a blog post because we'll just do this in batches. So, that is the first step. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How do we still have 12? Let me go through the cards one more time. We have Alseid. I forgot to remove Anointer of Champions. Arcbound Moser. Alright, Glaive Master. Dauntless Bodyguard. Hunted Witness. Kitesail Cleric. Market Gnome. Monk of the Open Hand. Mosquito Guard. Recruitment Officer. Rune Acrobat. And Shadow Assistant. Okay. So I think the failure here is I pulled one too many. So I think we're going to cut. Glaive Master's kind of on the bubble here. I don't see anything I really want to have it more than that. Like, do I want to keep the 0 power creature? Kind of. It's got this artifact synergy. It replaces itself when it dies. And if you use it as a crafting thing, you also get to draw another card. But maybe that's asking too much of a single 1-drop. And we just want to have more bodies. Alright, I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to keep it in a special section where I look back at it later to see if maybe we have enough crafting to keep it. So that brings us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're still at 11. Really. Alright. Alseid, Arcbound Mouser. I think at this point we're going to be cutting the Glaive Master. It's either going to be that or the Mosquito Guard. I like that this can be a combat trick also. Just a cool kind of little dude. Let's see what we've got for artifacts down here. Deconstruction Hammer. Core Halberd, which is probably making it... This is probably making it the whole way. Ancestral Blade probably is making it the whole way. Tap the Deconstruction Hammer. One of those two is also probably going to make it the whole way. Like, it's difficult. Hexgold Hoverwings, another card that might make it. So, I don't know. I don't think the Glaive Master is as good as I would like it to be. I did draft it a lot back in Darksteel, so I have an affinity for it. But it's time to move on. So, for 2 drops, we've got the same kind of thing going. If we go to the filter, and we go mana value equal to... There are 28 creatures. We're gonna keep this down to our favorite 10. And first is a Johnny's Pridemate. People love life gain and things like this. If we have more than one Pridemate, this is going to be the worst one probably. But as it is, I think that's in. What's the next creature that I would like to keep? Like, no matter what. Clearing Spirit, again, gives you that double spell archetype. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, make a spirit. You know, it's a 2-mana 2/2, which isn't great, isn't terrible, but it's fine. Something I should mention is at this point in the cube's development, every single legendary creature is being kept, because if we're going to do a commander cube, I do want to have every... I am going to use the rule that any 2 monocolors can partner. So like Daxos could partner with some black one or some red one, whatever, to make a deck work. I don't like doing a separate commander draft before you even begin, because you never know what you're going to see. Illuminated Virtuoso is another great card to keep. Where is it? There it is. Another great card to keep for if we're going to be pointing spells at our own creatures. It doesn't have Heroic on it, but it could. It could say, Heroic, it connives. But, you know, didn't have Heroic back then. Oh, sorry, they didn't want to do that keyword splitting. So I think the fact that this is a secret heroic card, plus it's just good by itself. It's a 2-mana 1/1 double strike. It's a human, it's a rogue, and if you cast anything on it, it just gets bigger. So I think that that's a slam dunk too. Okay, here's a card type that I would like to have in the cube as well. It's a 2-mana 3/1 that can attack aggressively. That does something. I think we've only got these 2. Let me just... Nope, we got Fleeting Spirit too. So the Fleeting Spirit is way more of a... Alright, so that's all of them. So Benel Sleeper, I'm going to knock out for the same reason as I knocked out the other guys. because it is a multicolored card. In a commander cube, it's a multicolored card. So that leaves these two, and they basically do a very similar thing. For the Fleeting Spirit, you discard it. It literally fleeting spirits. It exiles itself and comes back for free. But the Vanguard of the Rose is asking you to sacrifice something to give it indestructible. They both have this self-built-in protection. I think of the two, I would like to keep the Vanguard of the Rose. It has better creature types, and even though it has a cost that comes with it, it also just is the better attacker by itself because it gets indestructible, whereas the Fleeting Spirit, if you had to activate it, it won't get in for any damage. So I think the Spirit is out and the Vanguard is in. Combing through this list again, we've got two creatures. Let me see. Maybe it's more than two. Yep. So we've got two creatures with Vigilance. They just came right after each other. One is a 1/3 with Enlist, which was a fun mechanic in Dominaria United Limited. At least I thought so. It let you give something extra power for basically no cost. You're just tapping it down. I don't like that it has to be something that couldn't be summoning sick. That's just my 2 cents on it. But the Cliffside Rescuer is a 2-mana 2/2 that also gives something protection if you sacrifice it. It's hard to say which one is better in the situation, but I think I'm going to give it to the Rescuer for just doing enough where it's another version of protection. It protects another creature of yours. I think we've got enough of our cheap protection creatures. Let me see if I have any more in the list. Nope. Okay, next are the other two double strikers. We already have the thing that I am a huge fan of, the Virtuoso. So I think at most we're going to have one more. And in this case, it's a battle between Core Blade Master and Twin Blade Geist. And I think that the Blade Master just is going to win. They both are warriors. But I don't think that having the Twin Blade Invocation is better than just being able to give anything Vigilance. Double Strike. So the Blade Master is in, and we're going to keep an eye on that, because Warrior now is a type where if there's another heads-up battle, we might lean more towards the Warrior. What else are we looking at? We have a couple more life gain payoffs. Like, we do have the Johnny's Pride Mate, but here's two other life gain payoffs. One, you have something which has better stats, but only untaps when you gain life, so that's a good payoff. The other one is lesser stats. It's an enabler itself, but if you gain 3 life in a turn, it becomes a 3/5 that still becomes an enabler. I would want, in a regular cube, I would actually choose this one over the Famished Paladin, because I think this card is much stronger in a vacuum. But again, now that we're talking about color identity, I think we're going to keep the Famished Paladin and get rid of the Panic Bystander. Alright, let's see where we at now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, we got 2 more choices to make. So, we've got Double Strike, we've got some life gain payoffs, we've got some equipment payoffs, we've got a little bit of heroic hanging out here. We have 1 double spell, and 1 thing that's just really good attacker. So I guess what we're looking for at the last step is just something that... Phyrexian Missionary. So, here's the deal. Because this is a commander cube, all of these cards that have white and black are actually not gone from the cube. Because they're going to be in the Orzhov section when we get to the gold stuff. It's going to be a much bigger section because it's going to include cards that have these extra abilities. But as for mono white, that's not a mono white card anymore. Funnily enough, though, Syndic of Tides is. This is a mono white card because Extort, it's only in the reminder text that has the black mana symbol. So, it's only mono white card. But again, that's probably not going to make the final cut too. I think the number was 8. Correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 8. So you've got 2 more spots to play with. Just kind of see things that fit in pretty good. One of the ones that I'm looking at right now is easily the Skyclave Cleric, and I don't know why I didn't pull it out way earlier. This is an MDFC. It's a 2-mana 1/3, which is just kind of bad, but it also can be a land drop if you need it to be. So you could actually potentially even cut planes from your deck, from your basics, and count this as a land if you need it, but a creature if otherwise. And that gives us 1 more spot to play with. And I think that last spot is going to be... It's tough, because we have, on one hand, we have the Phalanx Leader, which is another card that explicitly says heroic, and it tells you what it does. And what it does is also put 1/1 counters on your other creatures. That's very strong. But the other card I'm playing with, right here in my hand, is Lightwalker. So one of them is a 1/1 counter enabler, and the other is a payoff only. Lightwalker has flying, as long as it has a 1/1 counter on it. If you equip it, and you have the other thing out, it has double strike because it's a human warrior. But I think in this case, I'm going to pick the Phalanx Leader as the possibility. So now we're going to cut every other creature from this section. So we've got Ambush Paratrooper is out. Azorius Arrestor is out. Faith Bonder is out. Ambassador, you're out. Aesthetic, you're out. Fleeting Spirit. Guardian of the Great Door. This was a cool idea. I was like, if we have enough artifact tokens, we could get this online quick. But I think it would need a dedicated environment to really shine in. Herbalist, Silver Chase Fox, Silver Frame Squire, Skyline Scout, Stalwart, Syndicate Tides, Tempered Veteran, Twin Blade Geist, and Wandering Champion. Let's see, does that... Okay, so I missed one again. Go through here and see what I missed. Let me just pick up the pile of keeps. That's going to be the easier way. Johnny's Pridemate, Clarion Spirit, Cliffside Rescuer, Daxos, Famished Paladin, Illuminator Virtuoso, Core Blade Master, Lightwalker. That's the other one I cut. I thought I kept that. Guess I cut that. Alright. See, just seeing your moments that happen. Phalanx Leader, Skyclave Cleric, and Vanguard of the Rose. So we get rid of the Lightwalker too. I do like the idea of it, but, you know, going into this, we only have so many spots. We could come back, and if we have enough, like, warrior synergies, we could be replacing some of the other soldiers that we have with warrior. But for the right now, we're going to say that that's good. And I'm also going to pull out the multicolored cards that I saw, and I'm going to put them in the Orzhov section, just because they are. They do deserve another chance to be looked at, just to fit into that other color identity. I think I had 1-on-1 too, didn't I? Yeah, the Dutiful Thrall, but I don't really want that card anyway. Doesn't do enough. So, there we go. We've got those cards, which are going to go into the other color identity spot. Now, filter, mana value, 3. Okay, again, we have 20 creatures. Let's bring that down to 10. Going through what we have. We have an Enlist Orc Knight that makes a token. But I think we have another creature that makes tokens when it ETBs. And I know we didn't get Ephemerate, but I think... Nope, that was wrong. So this is also the only creature that makes a token for a 3-mana body. So I think I'm going to keep that for now. May not make it the whole way, but it's a very valuable thing. Battershield Warrior has this cool boast ability. It only costs 2 mana. It's very cheap. You can only activate it once per turn, but very cheap. It's also a human and also a warrior. That's pretty cool too. For other auto keeps is this Custody Peacekeeper, because I do want to also throw in all of the conspiracies and the Draft Matters cards that we found. So this is a human cleric, it's a 2/3, and it's a tapper. It's an expensive body on a tapper, but it's a tapper, and that's not bad. What else do we see as kind of autos? Fiend Hunter is another one of those autos. When it ETBs, exile another creature. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled creature. This can get rid of a creature that would be blocking you and otherwise be in the way for you to do your final hit. But even just removing something temporarily and having the Fiend Hunter eat the removal spell as opposed to something scarier of yours is just fine. This Hollowed Spirit Keeper is one of our sneaky rares. It has a keyword, which means it's more valuable for our Odric. And when it dies, put spirits in the battlefield, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So, kind of okay, as close to a top end for a white aggro-based deck. It's an avatar, which means it has no synergies with anything else. But I think at this cut level, we can probably keep it in. I don't know if it's going the distance, but at this point, it's something we can continue to think about. Noriko Yamazaki, the poet, is another auto in because it is a legendary creature. Human Samurai, it's got that vigilance, it gives samurai, or in this case warrior, cool abilities to cast enchantments out of your graveyard. We'll see if we can fit any of that into play. But for the most part, it exists as a one part of a partner combo that doesn't exist yet. Tethanos High Priest is another cool card because it's heroic. When you target it with a spell, you can return a 2 mana value body back, which means that even if you get blown out by them killing this at instant speed, you still have that body for free. So it's actually something that I think is something worth looking at. So we'll throw that in. And then we'll do a quick count to see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We have 4 more spots for cool creatures. Oh my god. Another card I really like in this slot is Mischievous Pup. It's a 3/1, but importantly, it's got flash. So you can go surprise. And when you do, you can bounce something back of yours, which is probably only going to be done in response to like a kill spell or something, or if you want to rebuy an enters the battlefield effect to get that again. So I think at this point the pup moves on. Phyrexian Censor is a card that's kind of on the bubble. In a 1v1 cube, I would absolutely not include this. But considering that this cube is probably going to be played in battles of 4, I think that there's a case to be made that saying each player actually matters. So that'll make the cut for 3. Thousand Moon Infantry is another kind of unique card in that space. It says untap it during each other player's untap steps, and that means if you give it some other ability, like if you give it an equipment that lets you tap and do something with it, you could literally do that every turn. So I think right now we're keeping the cube aspirational, so we're going to keep this in there. And I think that means we have space for one more card. There are a lot of really cool ones I'm looking at here. I do have to look up something, if you'll excuse me just 1 second. Scryfall, Audric. Flying, Deathstrike, Double Strike, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Scope, Trample, and Vigilance. So it doesn't pass off Prowess. If it had passed off Prowess, then Dragon Bell Monk would have been the last, but it doesn't. So I think I don't like that one as much as some of the other 2 Vigilance cards I'm looking at, which are Militia Bugler and... that's my other Vigilance card I was looking at. Sigiled Sentinel. Sigiled Sentinel plays better in the space that it can give something a 1/1 counter, but it's also not a bad body, and it's a human. They're both humans. The Militia Bugler lets you get a little bit more value, and it's got a little bit of a bigger butt, but it also is a smaller body overall. Played on a blank board. The Sigiled Sentinel is bigger, so I think that's what we're going to keep, because I don't really think our white aggro decks really care about having more value. When they're on turn 3, they're looking to get in there. So we're getting rid of the Battershield Warrior, Blade Blizzard Kitsune, Dragon Bell Monk, Everdawn Champion, Resistance Squad, Sky Hunter Skirmisher, Undead Slayer, War Chanter Scald, and Zalfurin Lancer. Does that leave me with 10? Nope, 11. I just cannot count right now. So, let's go back up this list and we'll do it one more time. Cavalier, Peacekeeper, Fiend Hunter, Howlspear Keeper. And that's why, because we got rid of the Militia Bugler. Remove. There we go. Save changes. So now we've got, in the entire cube so far, it's been, I don't know, about half hour or so. And we've gotten rid of about 40 cards. That's not bad. I want to get this down to around 100. I don't know yet if it's going to be a 360 or a 540. Just based on the numbers you might need for if you're going to do a commander thing. So even if it's a 540, I don't think we want any more than 10 of a certain mana value creature. So that's where we're at right now. But speaking of, now we're into the more expensive creatures. I didn't realize I had that many 4s. So we'll do this again. Filter, mana value 4. Alright, so there are 15 creatures that are mana value 4. Wow. Let's cut that down to, I don't know, 8. So the higher side of half. One of the things I'm looking at, especially if we're talking about Commander, is this Archon of Absolution. It's a bit of a small stacks piece. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalker you control unless that creature pays 1 for each of those creatures. So it kind of discourages attacks against you. It's also got flying. Pro white, which I don't really love, but you know what? I think that that's a pretty good spot for 1. Quende, Lulu, and Audric are going to be my legendary window slams, my legendary windmill slams, because they're all legends. We do have the bad Audric as well, but I think that for right now, I don't really want that card. We'll see how it turns out. I see another card that's definitely getting in there. 2 more, actually. Master Splicer, which I believe has been updated to be a Phyrexian Human Artificer. Let me double check on that as well. Hi, Connor. Yep, it is a Phyrexian Human Artificer, so that would trigger on the other Phyrexian card too. What's up? I'll give you a hug.
That's what I wanted. That's why I came down here.
No, you came down here because your mother's occupied with your brother and you thought you could sneak away.
And I also needed litter.
Litter?
Water!
Oh, water. Water. So we got the Resto Angel and the Master Splicer, which work well together. 4, 5, 6. And that leaves us with 2 more 4-drops that we can keep.
Excuse me.
Yes, Connor.
Could you help me by turning on the lights?
Yep.
Because it's kind of hard for me to see in there.
Okay, one that I'm really looking at too is the Tiller of Flesh, because it is a Phyrexian. And give me just 1 second to get my son some water.
Mama, I am downstairs getting litter.
Okay, so this is going to be another one of those cards. Not only is it a Phyrexian, which means that the other card that we kept was better, but it also, when you target one or more permanents, whether it's one of yours or one of your opponents, and white is going to have a lot of buff spells and kill spells. So I think that is going to be an auto-include to help make you a bit of an army. And then lastly, I think I'm looking at a split between two. Hello, little guy. And give me one more second. Come here, little dude. Which one first? Oh, Adrian beat you.
Hey.
Good night, sweet dreams. I love you to the moon and back.
Moon.
Forever and for always. Okay. Off to bed, guys. It's 8 o'clock. Okay, sorry about that. So, of the last slot, I'm looking at either Parhelion Patrol or Knight of the New Coalition. Parhelion Patrol gets the bonus because it's flying and vigilant, which helps the Odric out. But it also has that mentor ability to spread 1/1 counters on things. Whereas Knight of the New Coalition has vigilance, but it also makes a body. And all of these cards that kind of flicker things, like the Restoration Angel, or cards that buy back other cards, like the Mischievous Pup, would rather have this on the board. So, all that is to say, I think I would rather have the Parhelion Patrol. It's close, and we could probably look into the Cube Cobra metrics and see that one is closer than the other. But anyway, so that means we're going to be getting rid of the Gem Guard, Combat Professor, Duelcraft Trainer, Lotus Eye Mystics, War Oracle. We're going to get rid of the bad Odric after all. And then Knight of the New Coalition. Alright. So that brings that number down to 8, which is just fine. We are doing great so far. Getting this cube down into something a little bit more reasonable, something you can kind of more easily keep in your head. Because the biggest challenge when doing something like this is so many cards with so many possibilities that you kind of just have to kind of bear down into a single idea. So now I think what I'm going to do is, not an overview, list, filter, mana value is greater than 4. And that leaves us with a few creatures left. So I'm going to keep Radiant, because again, legendary creature. I'm going to keep Wakening Sun's Avatar, because it's one of our few board wipes. And let's keep 2 of these. I think I like Angel of the Dawn as a surprise attack, and Serra Angel as a classic. Plus, down here we have Shalai's Acolyte, and that's going to go into the Selesnya section. Patron of the Valiant, remove. Shalai's Acolyte, we removed, and Step Glider, remove. Yeah, because Shalai's Acolyte is something that we could want to use in the white-green section. Okay, and we're going to save those changes. Great. So now we've gotten rid of a few more cards. And we're going to filter, reset. So now we're 135. We're looking really good. Oof, there's still a lot to kind of wrap our heads around here. Let's remove every one of these cards that we haven't yet. The Missionary, Panicked Bystander, Bendel Sleeper. Let's just remove those. Alright, and I think that the card I removed over here was an instant. Maybe it's a sorcery. Yep, Runic Shot was a sorcery. So that's going to go in the Azorius section. Don't know if it makes it, but it's going to go there. So now we're going to look at our non-creature permanents. And the first one is Invasion of Belenon, which is going to be an auto-include. If you wonder why, I refer you back to my video last Monday, where I explained that I think invasions get a bad rap from the people who played Constructed. They were all intentionally underpowered so that they didn't take over the format, but it means that nobody wanted to play with them. But I think in March of Machine Limited, they really showed themselves to be a great kind of puzzle as to whether or not to attack them or attack your opponent. So Invasion of Belenon is a 3-mana 2/2 Vigilant, right? It's not terrible. Might even put it into the creature section, but right now we're going to keep it in the battle section. And then, if you do attack it, because you're at that point in the game, it becomes an Anthem. So, not bad. You get a body, and you could potentially get an Anthem. Maybe even on the same turn, assuming your board presence is high enough. So, it's going to be kept for now. Now, we're going to take a look at our artifacts. We have a few artifacts that do basically the same thing. So, we're going to see what we're going to keep from there. Deconstruction Hammer and Citizen's Crowbar are basically the same thing, except Citizen's Crowbar makes a body. Deconstruction Hammer gives equip creature +1/+1 and has 3 tap, sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Okay. Crowbar is 2-mana 2/2 that has white, tap, sacrifice Citizen's Crowbar, destroy target artifact or enchantment. The Crowbar costs more to equip, which is not nothing. It means that the hammer is going to be more easily move aroundable. Oop. Everything okay with the video? Let's try putting a card down. So these are basically the same card, which means we only really want one version of it. On the one side, you get the cheaper equipment, more expensive to blow something up, but cheaper to equip. On the other side, you get the body that comes with the equipment. Oh, you can almost see my mic. Let me move that out of the way. On the other side, we have one that makes a body that auto-equips, but the equip cost in the future is more. I think, given the choice between the two of these equipment, I would rather have the Deconstruction Hammer. Cheaper is usually better. So the Crowbar is going to be gone for the hammer. Speaking of other equipments, we have 2 more cheap equipments, and I think both are going to make it in, so there's no use really talking about why they are or not. Core Halberd gives something +1/+1 Vigilance, and it only takes 1 to equip. It's very, very good short sword, or Leonin Scimitar, or I don't remember what the other version of that card is. It's just a 1-mana, 1/1, Vigilance, equipped for 1. And then Ancestral Blade does basically the same thing, except it makes a body first, so it's a 1-mana 2/2 that when that 2/2 dies can then be passed around, or even before. So both of those equipment are going to make it in. Duskrose Reliquary. As an additional cost to sacrifice a spell, to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until Duskrose Reliquary leaves the battlefield. It asks for a lot to play it. Very cheap mana-wise, but you have to give something up. But White is pretty good about having token creatures anyway. So I think that that card is going to stay. Next we have this Landmark. It's a okay card. Like, I just don't see it being very useful or exciting. So we're just going to pass that into the gone pile. Clay-Fired Bricks. Seems like it would be good in a commander-style thing because it is a little bit slower. ETBs, you get your basic planes and also get a little bit of life. And then it makes you 2 gnomes and it becomes an anthem itself. So you know what? I think that'll move on. Spring-loaded saw blades. It's got flash, so this is basically an instant. Deal 5 damage to target tapped creature an opponent controls. So they're attacking you, you gain, bam, kill their thing. And then for the low cost of 4, you get a vehicle that has crew 1. It's a 5/5, and can also be crewed by just anything laying around. So that'll be kept. Next, we have plate armor. Gives +3/+3 and ward 1 with equip 3, but it does get less for each equipment you have. It's on the bubble. I'm going to keep it for now. And then lastly is Hexgold Hoverwings. And if we're going to have an equipment-based deck, like an aggro deck or what have you, I'm definitely going to keep the Hexgold Hoverwings in. So, we only made a couple cuts there, which is okay. We didn't have a whole lot to cut from. But we're going to get rid of the Citizen's Crowbar and the Olatecan Landmark. And Citizen's Crowbar. Okay, now we're going into the enchantments. The last... Where did I put them? Oh, there they are. The last of our removals. So there is a creature right now, and I don't remember if it's a 2-mana creature or what, but can bring low mana enchantments back from the grave. There we go. Noriko Yamazaki. So there is a little bit of synergy here for enchantments. So Detention Vortex is not great. It's a pacifism, which is better than most pacifisms because it costs 1. Attacker block, can't activate abilities, can't be activated. It has the drawback that your opponent could get rid of the Detention Vortex too, but it's not something I'm happy to see. Because it's not even real removal. I don't like pacifisms as removal, so we'll get rid of that. Meticulous Excavation lets you return things to your hand. No. I don't think that's even useful in real Commander, and that's very slow. This environment's going to be faster, and if you play that, if you're able to activate that at 3 mana, it's just doing too little. Myth Realized. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a lore counter on it. Sure. And then for 1 mana, it becomes a monk avatar with power and toughness equal to the lore counters. That's a cool little board wipe proof creature to attack with. I'm going to keep that for now. Quest for the Holy Relic. Whenever you play a creature spell, you may quest, remove 5 quest counters and sacrifice it, search for an equipment card, put it on the battlefield, and attach it to a creature you control. That is pretty solid. Radiant Grace is an aura that lets you give something +1/+0 in vigilance, and when that creature dies, it becomes just creatures enter the battlefield tapped. Not really into that. I don't think it does enough. And then Soul Snare, which is another one of those pet cards for me, because it's a 1 mana, well, it's a 2 mana removal. It's a board trick that it's a removal spell that anybody can see and will kind of keep people from attacking you. And then if somebody does come and attack you, you can exile their worst thing. And then if you're able to buy it back with the Yamazaki card, it's totally cool. Hoofprints of the Stag. This is another card that really screams Commander to me. Whenever you draw a card, you may put a hoof print counter on this, remove 4 hoof print counters, and you make a 4/4 white elemental creature token with flying. I hate that it's only active on your turn, but I think for the investment of 2 mana, it's fine. Realm Breaker's Grasp. We just talked about this. I really, really do not like pacifisms, so we're just going to cut it. We have O-Ring and O-Ring style removal, so why would I want a pacifism? Next is the Rune of Sustenance. When ETBs, draw a card, it gives the enchanted permanent lifelink, or it gives the equipment the ability to give it lifelink. I think this is going to survive this round of cuts. In Kaldheim Limited, I did like just putting these runes on whatever equipment I could, just to make them a little bit better. And it's one of the few card types that actually interact with equipment that way. Seal Away. ETB. Exile target tap creature an opponent controls, and it has flash. It's fine. It's a little expensive at 2 mana for it, but it's not bad. It can get rid of any creature. It's not doesn't have to be something that has like 3 toughness. And again, they're going to have to remove that enchantment, so we'll keep that. Next up, we have Seal of Cleansing. Sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's very plain. I don't think we're going to have Enchantress as a thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to have it. So I don't think this is useful at all when we can have creatures doing that for us. Spectral Steel. Kind of in the same vein, is it's just a bad buff spell that gives you the ability to get something back from the graveyard later. Very, very good art. I really, really like that. But not going to make the cut. Together Forever. When it enters the battlefield, support 2. And then choose a creature with counter on it. When that creature dies this turn, put it back in your hand. I like this, especially, again, if we're looking at doing something a little bit slower like a Commander Pod. Abiding Grace. I've already told you. This is a pet card of mine. It lets you support that life gain archetype by guaranteeing a life gain every turn, or it can get you your little dudes back. So we're going to keep that. Always Watching. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. So it's a bit better than a regular Anthem, but it only affects your non-tokens. Still, it's very good. I don't love putting 3 mana into that. However, I do think it absolutely gets by this round of cuts. It's just interesting enough that we can look at it. I set aside Bat Colony because it interests me, but I think that we're just not going to have enough caves for it to do anything really cool. So we're going to cut that. Born to Drive is another one of those really cool modal spells that came out of Kamigawa. It can buff something, or you can channel it and make pilots. But I think both modes are just a little too expensive on this card, so it's not needed. Citizen's Arrest, a 3 mana, almost O-Ring. Gets rid of a creature or planeswalker. That's fine. Like, it's, again, your opponent's going to have very pointed removal to get rid of it. But I think when I'm looking ahead a little bit, it's fighting against, in same slot, Seal from Existence, which exiles target non-land permanent, plus it has Ward. I think when you look at both of these in a vacuum, you can see that one is easily better. Seal from Existence is in, Citizen's Arrest is out. Face of Divinity. Gives your enchanted creature +2/+2, and as long as another aura is attached to it, it has first strike and lifelink. That's pretty cool. I don't see us having any Voltron decks in this format because it'd be way too hard to even have. Like, we already don't have the white creatures that help support it, so we would really have to go deep on the other colors. So I think that's out. Love Song of Night and Day is a card that I threw in when we kind of were first thinking about making this a commander cube. You and probably the opponent, who's also fallen the most behind, get to draw 2 cards, then you make a token, and then you get some counters. Pretty decent card. And Might of the Ancestors, I think, is just too slow. At the beginning of a combat, you get +2/+0 and gains vigilance. It's okay, but we want more than okay. Minmus Containment turns something into a treasure, and Oblivion Ring gets rid of it. I think both are very good, so I think for now they're both going to stay in, but I don't know that we want any more O-rings because we already have a couple, and there's only so many that a cube can have before they become very unwieldy. Spirit Cairn. When a player discards a card, you may pay 1 white. If you do, make a 1/1 white spirit creature token flying. I'm going to put this in specifically with a nod to see if discard is a thing. If we have black having targeted discard, or if we have like Faithless Looting style effects or what have you, I might be tempted to just run this as a kind of a hoser. So we're going to put that in. It's going to make the cut for now. And kind of what I was saying before is we have 3 more O-ring style effects. One is Cast Out, does it at instant speed. One is Conclave Tribunal, which has Convoke. And one is Journey to Oblivion, which just becomes cheaper based on your party. I don't know that we're going to have enough things in party for this one to matter. We already have 3 of this effect, including O-ring and the one that has Ward. And the Minmus Containment. Okay, so that's 3 that I'm happy with already. I don't think I need any of these. I might be wrong, but I think that we're probably good in the removal department for that. On Sarah's Wings, I love this card. It's no good. It suffers the same problem that every single aura has, in that it just doesn't do enough. If they are able to kill the creature right away, it just goes to the graveyard. If you're able to get 1 swing off before they kill it on their turn, you got another extra damage in there. It's just, it does a lot of cool things, and I really like the story flavor of it, but it's just too slow. Valor in Akros. Here's an interesting idea. This is very much like, I can't think of the other one that does the exact same thing. But basically, as more creatures enter the battlefield, your other creatures get bigger, and just buff and buff and buff, and it makes math really, really difficult. I think for now it'll be kept, just because it is able to do that kind of stuff. Vow of Duty. Here's one last removal spell, basically. It gives one of your cards a decent sized buff, or what it can really do is you can target the biggest, scariest thing on the board of your opponents, and now they can't attack you, which is great. So it gives them +2/+2 and vigilance, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. The vigilance is kind of mediocre, but if you're throwing this on an enemy's creature, it's because you implicitly don't want to be attacking. Like, if you're putting this on one of your creatures, you're very happy with just getting the buff of the +2/+2 vigilance, but more likely than not, you're going to throw this on an opponent's creature. They're going to get bigger, they're going to be more incentivized to attack with it, and they're going to be more incentivized to attack your opponents with it because it can no longer attack you. So that's very good. And then lastly for enchantments is Mammoth Umbra. And I like the totem armor having that it has, but I think at 5 mana it's just too much for what it's doing. So that's going to get cut. And we're going to cut out Detention Vortex, Meticulous Evacuation, Radiant Grace, Realmbreaker Grasp, Seal of Cleansing, Spectral Steel, Bat Colony, Born to Drive, Citizen's Arrest, Face of Divinity, Might of the Ancestors, Cast Out, Conclave Tribunal, On Sarah's Wings, Journey to Oblivion, and Mammoth Umbra. Alright, so that's going to finish up our white non-creature permanents. And I think that that's a very good... Let's see what we're at right now for cards. But I can see already that the stack of cuts... Forgive the old webcam. But the stack of cuts is already probably getting close to 80? Yeah, we're down from 185 to 112. So just a few more cuts left. Get this down under 100. And then we can call this a night. I'm going to do sorceries next, because that's another small section. Yeah, it only has 11 cards total. I like Lay Down Arms. I think this might be one of the best removals in the cube. So I think we're going to keep that. Sunlance would be cool if it was an instant, but as a sorcery, I don't really love it. Sunset Revelry is another card that I'm just going to put in for now because it's just too good. It's very good for your controlling more slowdown decks. And the fact that it says if an opponent, you might be able to pop off with all 3 modes if you're playing a 4-player game. So, that's going to be in. Gird for Battle. And Basri Solidarity are both very similar cards, except one is half the cost and one does more. If you think you're only ever going to be hitting this on 2 cards, then obviously Gird for Battle is better. This also importantly targets. So I think, even though it seems like Basri Solidarity is way better, I think the fact that this targets, it costs half the mana, it'll trigger Heroic, I think Gird for Battle in this situation is actually better than Basri Solidarity. And it seems weird to say, but that's how I feel. Swallowed Whole requires you to have an untapped creature to cast it, but it's also an unconditional removal, and it'll put a 1/1 counter on that creature. It does not trigger Heroic, but that's fine. Banishing Slash, again, for 2 white pips, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. Then if you control an artifact and an enchantment, make it 2/2. Sure. We're going to count that as just a removal. If you ever get a creature off of it, it's great. Recruitment Drive. Make some tokens based on the roll of a die. I love it. So let's put that in there. Arm the Cathars is a very weird looking battle cry. No, what is it called? The +2/+0. It's a very weird looking buff. It's going to target 3 of your creatures, giving them all a bit of a buff. It's going to give them vigilance, and it's going to trigger all those heroics. So I think if we see any of the other versions of this that just give it to the whole team, we'll cut those. Secret Rendezvous, again, it's a political opponent for you and your opponent. You choose one of your opponents, and the other 2 are just left out in the wind. And Slaughter the Strong is a very much appreciated board wipe. We don't get board wipes very often in these kind of lots, and to have one at 3 mana is just amazing. So that's going to get in there. And then lastly, we're looking at Repair and Recharge. It lets you reanimate an artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. So it doesn't even hit creatures. And it costs 5 mana. So I think that that's going to be a no. So we're going to get rid of Basri's Solidarity. Repair and Recharge wasn't even on this list. And Sunlance. Okay. But the numbers work out. So there we have it. Now we're on to our last very big, very unwieldy section, which is instants. Give me 1 second to break things down. All right. There we go. Blazing Hope. Exile target creature with power greater than or equal to your life total. As much as this would be good, it's not. Because it's going to be greater than or equal to your life total. So unless you're at like 2 life, this card is nothing. Elspeth's Smite, on the other hand, will exiles a problem that you're attacking with. So in that case, it's one of the best removals we're going to see. There's nothing worth saying about that. Emerge Unscathed. Target creature you control gets protection from something until end of turn. And much like it, we also have Fight as 1. But it gives Indestructible. I think with the 2, they both target. So you're going to get those heroic triggers off of either of these. Emerge Unscathed casts itself twice for 1 white mana. Fight as 1 can buff 2 creatures with a 1/1 counter. Nope, not a 1/1 counter, just gets +1/+1 and Indestructible. So they both do the same kind of idea of saving your creatures. And one does it in the way that you get to get in for damage. The other one does it in that it just can't be destroyed. So I think of the 2, I'd rather have Emerge Unscathed in the cube list. And we'll drop Fight as 1. Holy Day. I was mentioning this even before this was a commander cube. I like the idea of having fogs, as they're called, into the cube. Because it's just, somebody attacks, and maybe they attack everybody. Maybe we have a myriad creature. You just Holy Day, and all the damage is done. But now, they're completely open for everybody else to attack. People saw what they were going to do. And yeah. So Recruit the Worthy is a 1 mana 1/1 with buyback for 3. That's just a little too expensive for that. Stand Firm, again, it can give you a slight bonus, and I like having the Scry, but it just is not doing enough for the card slot. Aerial Boost could even be a free way to give something +2/+2 and flying. But I don't know. I don't know if that does enough either. So we're going to cut that. Angelic Ascension has the fun way of either getting rid of something that is super scary, or it can turn one of your little dorks into a 4/4 angel. So I think for now we're going to keep that. Artillery Blast is another one of those cool effects to have. I don't think we're going to really have Domain in this cube. I think 3 is probably stretching it. So let's pretend this reads as 3. So Artillery Blast deals 3 damage to target tap creature, where X is 1 plus the number of basic lands. Okay, so that would deal 4 damage to something. So, slightly better, but twice as expensive, Elspeth's Smite. But I'm really considering this is probably going to be 3 damage most times, and just at 2 mana, it's too much. Blessed Alliance. Target player gains 4 life, untap 2 target creatures, target opponent sacrifices an attacking creature. You can get multiple of these modes. Let's say that most often you're going to untap something. that'll get a heroic trigger, and you'll be able to kind of surprise block. But that's for 2 mana. Calamity's Wake. Exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Exile Calamity's Wake. I think that this is probably a good thing to have, especially if we end up with more reanimation stuff. I seem to remember that maybe Red had like the artifact-only version of Sneak Attack, and I think that Black has a little bit of reanimation. But anyway, if we'll keep this in for now. And if graveyards don't really end up mattering, we'll pull it right out. It's a super easy pull. As for things we are definitely going to keep, though, Destroy Evil. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater, or destroy target enchantment. That's great. It gives you one more way to get rid of your enchantments, so while also having the ability to hit something scary. You know, Disenchant is a very classic card, but it's kind of a classic for a reason. This is one of those cards that's gotten power crept dozens of times over the years. We're not going to run it. Feat of Resistance and Shelter. Again, very similar cards. Feat of Resistance will give you a 1/1 counter on the creature, whereas Shelter will give you a card. And I think between the two, I would rather have the Shelter. I know that we have 1/1 counters as a theme, but I don't like spells that only make the one, because it just doesn't do enough. Speaking of which, Take Up the Shield, also very much in the same vein. So, I don't know that we want that. Gideon's Triumph. The problem with spells like this is it doesn't say non-token. So, more often than not, it'll just sacrifice something dinky and stupid. I think we've got enough removal anyway in white that this is not going to be needed. But I think I'm going to keep it anyway, just for now, with the thought that we are definitely not going to keep it in the future, because it's my least favorite removal spells. The what are those called? The edicts that don't say non-token. Speaking of tokens, here's a 2 mana 2/2. Perfectly fine. And then Resistance Reunited is a cool card to think about. It gives equipped creatures you control indestructible. But I don't know that... I mean, that's probably going to be one creature that you're thinking of. It's nice that it can split that from the buff itself. I think at 2 mana, though, it's a little expensive. Unbounded Potential. 2 mana, put a 1/1 counter on each of your 2 target creatures. Again, that'll fire off your heroic triggers. And then it's also got Proliferate as a mode. I think that this is very good. I don't think you're ever going to entwine that for 6. But being able to do one of those 2 things is totally cool. And lastly, at 2 mana is Will of the All-Hunter. It gives something +2/+2. If it's blocking, instead put 2 counters on it and cycling. I don't really want to encourage people sitting back with their creatures, so we're going to pull that out. Okay. Now we're on to 3 mana. Acrobatic Maneuver. The first flicker spell that we see. Flicker, then draw a card. It's very expensive. To use this to its fullest, you're basically leaving up your turn. I think we'll put it in for now because it's always easier to cut than it is to go back and see what we pulled. But I don't see it lasting for too much longer. Here's another one. Allied Assault. Up to 2 target creatures. Each gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of creatures in your party. So I'm going to look at that one versus Inspired Charge. So 1 will trigger Heroic, and 1 doesn't. 1 only hits 2 creatures, 1 hits all of your creatures. And one can potentially get bigger, but I think that in this case, I still think Inspired Charge is probably... I don't know. It's hard because it's also more expensive. So let's pull the charge out. And then look at this versus Fortify. Creatures you control get +2/+0 or +0/+2. And I think even in that case, I still like Allied Assault more. So there we go. We're going to keep one Party Mechanic. Armed Response. Deals damage to target attacking creature equal to the number of equipment you control. I love all the words on the card. I don't love its cost. At 3 mana, you don't want to be keeping 3 mana up for your opponent's turn. Unless you're very control heavy, in which case you're probably not running many equipment. Whereas this just says exile target tapped creature. So it's even better to remove, and it does better things. So I kept Kaya's Onslaught in here. Gives something +1/+1 double strike till end of turn. You can potentially foretell it, but even still you're paying 3 mana for this ability. And I don't know that it does enough at 3 mana. Make a Stand. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible till end of turn. That could be good if you're expecting a board wipe that's not toughness related. I think we'll keep it for now. It's worth just having around. Scroll Shift, which is I think the better version of the other one that we had. It was not Cloud Shift. It is Acrobatic or Maneuver. So they both exile target. This one says artifact, creature, or enchantment you control, then return it to the battlefield. That one only says creature, so I am going to keep the Scroll Shift, and we'll toss the Acrobatic or Maneuver. The number of 3 mana versions of this spell that we're going to run is probably 0, but it's never 2. Crush Contraband is very much like the old... There used to be a 2/2 white instant that was everywhere back in the early days of Commander. That would let you get rid of an artifact or an enchantment, 2 of them. But this does the same thing at instant speed with 1 white pip. But even still, I think in today's day and age, it's too slow, so we're going to cut that. Divine Verdict, 4 mana to destroy target attacking or blocking creature is a joke. And then last thing is Quicksand Whirlpool. Cast 3 less if it targets a tapped creature. So it costs 3 less, so it'd be 2 and a white. Exile target creature. So again, going back to comparisons, Expel only ever hits tapped creatures, whereas Quicksand Whirlpool can hit any creatures. If you're targeting a tapped creature, Quicksand Whirlpool costs the same as Expel, right? Because 6 minus 3 is 3. So I think that Quicksand Whirlpool is in, just because it has a slightly better edge case. I think both times you're going to be casting it on your opponent's turn, assuming we keep them in the cube. So there you have it. Now we're going to go through this last stack, and we're going to cut everything we didn't keep. So we're getting rid of Expel, Divine Verdict, Crush Contraband, Acrobatic Maneuver, Kaya's Onslaught, Armed Response, Fortify, Inspired Charge, Will of the All Hunter, Resistance Reunited, Take Up the Shield, Fear of Resistance, Feat of Resistance, Plain Old Disenchant, Blessed Alliance, Artillery Blast, Aerial Boost, Aerial Boost. Did I type that in wrong? No, there it is. Stand Firm, Recruit the Worthy, Fight as One, and Blazing Hope. And let's see what happens when we press the Save Changes button. We are now at 90 cards, down from 185. We cut this pack in more than half, and I'm so excited to see that. So, that's it for the cube for tonight. We're down to 90 cards in the white section. Tomorrow I'll be editing the blue section, so if you're on starting tomorrow, you are going to see the blue cards that we have in here. I think there are some really cool cards left, and that's why it says, here be spoilers. Now, if you will just give me a minute, I'm going to go to Startup. I'm going to turn this on to Game Cap with Cam. Nope. Firefox Cap. There we go. I'll leave this up for now, while I see about starting on Magic Online. Because right now they have a cube. And considering it's a little early for me to stop, let me see about jumping into that cube. Give me 1 second. It's downloading a new patch, so just gonna let that go for a minute. So what do we think? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible white commanders. If every color gets 6, that would be 6. What's that? 120 different combinations of 2 color cards. My math is very rusty. You're welcome to correct me, but I think it's like 120 combinations, and that's not even going to include the multicolored cards we'll throw in later. So I think that this could absolutely be a Commander Cube, if that's what you guys want to see. I think probably with the next video I'm going to release that as a poll, just to really get the vibe everybody's feeling. I'm going to do the blue video, and then we'll have 2/5 of the cube kind of really seen, and then we can just kind of determine from there if we do want Commander or if we want to go back to like a regular 1v1 cube experience. If we do go to a regular experience, it'll make it very easy to cut the rest of the cards. That all were, things like Love Song of Night and Day or Secret Rendezvous. Things that really only benefit from having multiple opponents, they just come right out. Okay, so now Magic Online's up. And there is a vintage cube. So let's see about... Wow, this is ancient hardware. So let's see about capturing it. So let's go Game Cap. And we're going to capture... Full screen application. It's not foreground window with hotkey. Can I do this? Is this captured? It's hard to tell. It's not. Why is it not? Why is this not being seen? What if I change it to something else? What if I try... this, and then the source is going to be this. Does that work? I'm not seeing it. Like, it's showing up clear, which is weird. What happens if I turn this off? Yeah, it's completely showing up as black. Huh. Wonder why that is. Okay. So I wasn't planning on stopping this early, but I really don't want to play Arena tonight. I was planning on doing a cube draft, but it looks like Moto is being a bit of a bear. But when isn't it? So that's where I'm going to leave it for now. I will see you guys later. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be busy doing other stuff, but possibly Sunday night. I'm going to get back from the game store. Maybe I'll throw on a stream or not. Anyway, take care.